All right, we'll start the series in tabletop position. It also could be started in downward facing dog. So I'll bring my right leg forward. I've got my blocks that I like to use, the props. And coming into what's called a baby dragon. And what I'm working on primarily here is with the right hip is in flexion. And my back hip, my left hip is in extension. So I'm getting a nice stretch there. And I might hold this for 2, 3, 4 minutes. And when I come into the pose, I want to meet the pose with significant resistance. I want to feel some resistance. And I might notice after several breaths that I'll be able to come into it a little bit deeper. Okay. And again, we're just going to hold this for a shorter period of time today, just for the demo. All right. Another variation of dragon pose is where I walk my right foot out to the right, and then I try to get down a little bit lower, maybe onto the forearms, for like a low-flying dragon. Now I'm starting to feel a little bit more extension in my back hip. It's extending a little bit more. So you could hold this for a while, minute, 2 minutes, 3. And then moving further into what's called a wing dragon, I'll start to roll onto the outer edge of my front foot, and I might even assist with my hand, maybe even take a spinal rotation as I turn my chest upward. And again, I'm feeling even more extension in my left hip. And now I'm feeling an external rotation in my right hip, really getting into the outer hip and the glutes, opening up the hip. Okay. You can even go a little bit further where, if you'd like to, you can pick up your back foot and incorporate a quad release. Okay, so we've talked about external rotation, flexion, and extension. Okay, I'm going to release from here. Okay, I'll go ahead and come back to table. So let's move on to an internal rotation. This is a nice pose to rotate the hips, hip joints inward. Okay. So you can either start by sitting on your heels, and you might start to lower back, maybe using the blocks as props, depending on how much flexion you can get from your knees. Or you can sit your heels, or you can sit your hips between your heels. Now this is a little bit more ideal if I can have my heels alongside my hips, because it's turning my hips inward. And then from here we could lower down, maybe onto the forearms, or if your body allows, maybe coming all the way onto your back. You could even have a bolster or blocks underneath you to support you. And once I've set the pose up, I take my time to get into it. I can feel the internal rotation in my hips. I'm also getting a nice opening in my knee joints, my ankles, the tops of the feet. And then I'll probably stay here maybe 3 to 5 minutes. And again, though, for the demo, I'm going to shorten it. I'll start to come out. So now we see a pose that is nice for the internal rotation. So now we have, I'll show you a nice one that's kind of fun to do for abduction. And it's a variation of happy baby pose. What I'll do is I'll reach from the insides of my legs and find the outer edges of my feet. And I want to bend my knees about 90 degrees, and my feet look like I'm walking on the ceiling. Now I'll bring my chin down. I'm going to try to get my shoulder blades flat to the mat. Okay, so abduction is when we're moving the legs away from the center line of the body. So watch here as I start to open. I'm abducting. And then once I've taken my knees so far apart that I cannot go any further, I'll start to pull the knees and the thighs down toward the floor, creating a compression in the hips. So now there's a flexion in the hips. So I'm abducting and flexing the hip joints. Okay. Again, here you can stay here for a few minutes. Okay. And then release. All right, and then continuing here with the short Yin series focused on the hips. I'll take a strap below the toes, I'm just going to hold the strap in both hands with my elbows straight. So rather than here, walk your hands up the strap, walk your elbows straight. Go ahead and extend the left leg on the mat. Now we use this too primarily as a hamstring stretch. But if I take the strap into my left hand, I'll relax my right arm on the floor and try to bring the leg a little closer to me without my right hip coming up. I'm going to start to adduct. So I'm going to bring the leg in closer to the midline. And I don't have to go too far. If you're way out here, then back up and bring the leg a little closer to you. And then move pretty much toward the center line of the body. Now, what's happening here is I'm stretching the outer line of the body. This is a great stretch for runners. Sometimes runners have pain right here in the outer knee and maybe need to work on lengthening their IT band. Outer hip to outer knee. It's a great stretch for that. Notice my foot is flexed. This is pretty intense actually. It doesn't look like I'm going very far, but I can definitely feel it. Okay, and I'm going to release. Okay. All right, let's do this yin hip series on the other side, the left side. So bring your left foot forward. Come into baby dragon. And we're doing the baby dragon for flexion in the left hip and extension in the right. Relax your shoulders down and just make sure you're breathing nice, full, smooth breaths, just in and out through the nose. Your breath will actually help to relax you too, especially the exhales. If you can extend your exhales, even focus on extending your exhales twice as long as your inhales. So we'll pretend I just held this for about 2-3 minutes and we'll move on to a low flying dragon. I'm going to start to heel toe my left foot out to the left side of the mat. And notice as I drop my hips, my back leg is extending even more, my back hip. I'm going to rest the forearms on the block. Now I'm using blocks today. I personally prefer using blocks when I practice, but you can definitely, if you can get your forearms to the floor, you don't want to use the blocks, you can be here. I feel more compression in my left hip, more extension in the right hip. Okay. And now I'm going to start to bring in that external rotation by rolling to the outer edge of the front foot. And I'm going to start to use my hand to assist. And then I like to personally take a little spinal twist here. It feels so good. Start to turn the chest upward. And of course your gaze always goes to where it feels best for your neck. Okay? And again, I would hold this for a certain duration of time. And I want to feel some resistance here. Maybe after a minute or so, you're going to start to lose the resistance. And that'll be a signal your body wants to go a little deeper. Okay, we'll come out on this side. Okay, from here, I'll come back to table. And then we came into saddle pose, the internal rotation, but that's a symmetrical pose. So we just need to do that once. So there's not a left side, right side. We kind of took care of both hips. But what we'll do is come on to the back. And so was happy baby. That was a symmetrical pose. We did both hips at the same time. We'll adduct. Walk your elbow straight, extend your right leg, flex your left foot. You want to bring the leg in as far as you can, as much as you can. And then take the strap into the right hand. Take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, just bring the leg to the right. You're coming right about to the midline of the body, maybe not too much further. And right away you're feeling that stretch, not just in the hamstring, but once you started to adduct, it moved then to the outer hip, all the way down to the outer knee. Okay, targeting your IT band along with the hamstring. Okay, and then we'll release. So again, that pose, you might hold that for a couple of minutes. All right, so thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video. And there's a lot more poses, yin poses we can do with the hips. Those are just some real basic things that you can do. And of course, if you have any questions, my name is Stephanie. I'm here at Hot Yoga Naperville. Namaste.